Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to this month's What's Working webinar. I am your host, Eric Thompson, and this is your chance to learn from our very own. So this is called the What's Working webinar. This is offered through the Windermere Leadership Academy, and this is where we get together once a month to share best practices, share ideas, share what's working amongst all of our Windermere offices all over our footprint. Today we have a really exciting guest that I will introduce here in just a few moments, and then we're going to hit some housekeeping items first. But first of all, I just want to again thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for engaging with this webinar. We have a bunch of you who are tuning in live, and also a bunch of you who are going to be listening to the recording. I first want to, like I always do, I just want to make sure I'm coming through loud and clear. And if you wouldn't mind, by using your question tool there in the GoToWebinar platform, if you wouldn't mind just typing me a quick note to let me know that you can hear me just fine, that I'm coming through loud and clear, that would really help me out. I see those comments starting to roll in, so that's fantastic. Lots of our Windermere friends are joining us live, and I see your notes coming in, so that's great. So thank you once again for being a part of this. So like I mentioned, we're going to do a couple housekeeping items first. One thing you need to know, and I get asked about this a lot, I get asked, hey, Eric, where do I find the recordings of these webinars? What you can do is just go onto the worksite and go to the management tab there, you see there at the top, and then click on Leadership Academy where you see that red arrow, and this will pop up, the screen will pop up once you click on Leadership Academy. Then you just click on that blue button right there, What's Working Webinar. That's where you're going to find all the recordings for the webinars that we've done. I believe this is our 7th webinar, and so we've had a chance to learn from just some terrific people, lots of great takeaways about all kinds of different topics like recruiting, and we learned kind of the insides of Redfin, and we've learned all kinds of great things with Larry Kendall last month, who of course is going to be joining us in a week for our management series, so we're looking forward to that. Anyway, you want to check out the recordings right there from the worksite, all right? The other thing I want you to do is go ahead and save the date for next month. We will be live on March the 20th, same time, 1 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Mountain. And this is also a chance to ask you for your help if you have any ideas, any topics that you would like to have covered, or any people that you want to have interviewed. I'm happy to help with that. Just let me know, and I can get that put together. Always looking for some input. I have a few ideas, but I'm always looking for input from my fellow Windermere owners. All right, so I think that's it for housekeeping. So now let's go on with the show. So gang, I am so excited to announce our special guest for you this month. It's the one and only Michael Beninati. Michael, you can see there, he's managing partner and owner at Windermere Metro Denver. And today also is extra special because today, Michael, is your birthday. So let me start by wishing you a very, very happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that, it was kind of fun when you and I were planning this, and I told you the date. You said, you know what, that's my birthday. And I thought, gosh, even better. And what a gift, pun intended, what a gift you're giving us that you're going to share all your terrific insights on new home marketing mastery. So that's going to be our topic today. And gang, we are certainly learning from a master. Michael and I were just joking because we were supposed to be in the same room together, and because Colorado got a huge snowstorm last night, we were unable to do that. So I'm in Fort Collins, Michael's in Denver, but Michael, here we are together. So Michael, in all seriousness, thank you so much for being a part of this. We really appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. So Michael, why don't we start just with getting to know you a little bit better. I know you know lots of the people who are listening in. You've been engaging with Windermere owners for the past couple of years since you've joined our company, whether it be Owners Retreat or Symposium or different events. And for those of you that don't know you very well, let's just share a little background. And so obviously you live in Denver, and you're an owner at Windermere Metro Denver, and we're coming up. We've just had 2 years with our company, right?
Yeah. Be coming up here in a few months. We'll our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah, we're coming up on a 2-year anniversary. And before then, tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about the company that you were with before you all came over to join Windermere.
Yeah, so we we're a lot of you know the story. We were a large team here in Denver with another brokerage with Coldwell Banker, and we had won a number of awards with Coldwell Banker, and really kind of maxed out not only the comp plan but maxed out kind of where we were going to go. And through 6 degrees of separation, we were introduced but reintroduced. I moved to Colorado from Oregon, so I was very familiar with the Windermere brand and name. So we were introduced through some friends of ours in Southern California to Windermere and to you, Eric. But what's interesting is that the how I got into this side of our business, which I have focused on the new construction side of real estate as well as the corporate relocation. I spent 25 years in retail, and we built retail stores throughout the Western United States for the phone company. And I got laid off. I lost my job in '06. I guess I did my job too well. So, but through that role, I transitioned to a role in community development and worked with builders, developers, realtors, architects, designers, et cetera, and really, really got to know the inner workings of building development. And my role was promoting and delivering high-speed internet under the DSL brand with CenturyLink now. So that's how I got into the side of the business that we're talking about today.
Got it. And we really are going to get into this, gang. All of you listening, our mission, Michael and I, is to give you some really good takeaways specific to new home marketing, some things that you can implement right away. We're going to leverage Michael's vast experience, his terrific track record as it relates to this. And we're really going to have some fun here as we go along here together. And we're going to get to kind of tap into Michael's great brain as it comes to working with builders. And I think before we get into the specific takeaways, it may help everyone to know just your background, and so they understand where all this comes from. And you were just starting to get into kind of how all this started, but keep going with the story. So there you were laid off, and take us down the path there to how did this lead to real estate, and specifically how did this lead to working with new home builders?
Absolutely. So my wife and I were in our backyard here in Denver, and very similar story to yours, Eric. At one point on your back deck, and when my wife turns to me and says, "Well, you know what are you gonna do?" We had just gotten married, closed on a new house, and I lost my job all in a 90-day period. So I said, you know what? I really enjoy real estate. I've always wanted to get into it. I had a little bit of fascination behind it. My father was a vice president of an insurance company, and every 3 years was transferred all over the Midwest and up to including the West Coast. And in that environment, number one, and number two, the environment that I grew up in is we always had a new house. So I understood what it meant to go look at the site lot on Sunday. You know, I understood what it meant that I had to wear a hard hat. I understood the design center, and I knew that pretty well. Well, that coupled with growing up in a family where you were part of a larger corporation and a corporate relocation, I understood the emotion of that from watching my siblings and my mother go through that, whether we were buying a property or selling a property as a family. And I also understood what it was like to move to a new town and not know anybody. So I said, well, I'm gonna get in this real estate game. I'm getting this real estate thing, and the two things I understood was new construction and corporate relo. Well, as I started doing my homework and I was going through the Colorado real estate classes and interviewing brokers at the time, this was about 12 years ago, a guy told me, and I remember it vividly, less than 10% of people in real estate sell new construction, so you're not going to have any competition. And probably half of that even understand what relo means. So I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. So I learned everything about new construction and everything about corporate relo right out of the gate, and that's what I jumped in with both feet.
Got it. So you saw a clear niche, you saw a need in the marketplace, you saw that it was a way for you to become unique, plus it matched up with your skill set, your background. You were clearly intrigued by it, and gosh, what a perfect match that it's been. And so, Michael, walk us through the different ways you've been involved with builders, the different organizations that you've been a part of, that you've led, the different networking groups you're a part of, because I think this will help too to just give context to the things that we're going to talk about here in a few moments.
Sure, absolutely. So one of the first things I did, and I firmly believe, and we are today, is that we're realtors, right? We support the realtor brand. So I got involved at the time. It was the Denver Board of Realtors. Then I joined the local Home Builders Association of Metro Denver, which, if I take you back to 2006, was not pretty, and 08 and '09, it really wasn't pretty. Um, and one of the things that happened is I was working with our local Board of Realtors. And at the time, in our market, the home builders, they just flat out weren't welcome. And because they weren't realtors, they weren't part of the co-op, they weren't part of the club. So I made it one of my missions, and one of my charges was to involve builders and realtors together. Well, how I did that was, in Colorado, we're a little fortunate. We have a group called the Builder Realty Council, which is known as the BRC, and it's the only builder realty council in the U.S. And that group was designed roughly 35 years ago to connect builders and realtors together in a manner of education. So to teach realtors how to work with on-site salespeople, how to work with the solo builder, and also how the compensation works, and how to be educated on vocabulary of new construction. So I immediately joined the Builder Realty Council, the Denver Board of Realtors, and the Home Builders Association. So fast forward a little bit, Eric. So in 2008, when we really started to feel the pain, and going in 2009, when those of you that were been in the business understood, I mean, our home builders couldn't finance dirt. I mean, it wasn't going to happen, right? So I really worked with them in an effort to understand what their needs were. Was it finding ground? Was it finding financing? Was it on-site sales? Was it a list assist program? Was it marketing, websites, etc.? And really figured out those various niches, and understood that non-publicly traded production builder was really in a tough spot. They were in a tough spot because they didn't have the financing. Number two, they couldn't get people to work for them. And number three, quite honestly, they just needed to get to the realtors to get in front of buyers. Well, at the time, in the marketplace, the Denver market, it was really unfriendly to realtors. It was very much where realtors didn't want to go on site. They didn't want to sell. In some cases, there were arguments where they didn't get paid, et cetera. So shortly after that, is getting involved in that market, I approached the Metrolist, which is now RE Colorado, is our local MLS. We started a committee, right, to enable the home builders the ability to access our MLS system, so that buyers out there have the opportunity to see new home communities, new home construction, as well as resale homes. I know I have to tell you this, Eric, but I know the listeners may not understand. That was a 3-year project just to get to a point where we could have a conversation with the home builders. So for me, I learned a lot about the market. I learned a lot about how to network with them. I also learned a lot about the politics behind it, but also really built long-lasting relationships with a lot of the home builders here in the city as a value add.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, really what you built is a lot of goodwill, right, with them. So, which allowed you to just become a trusted advisor for lots of builders. And so this kind of leads to the first question, just given that this side of the business so well, builders so well, you've had lots of builder accounts, what works, what doesn't. What are some misconceptions about working with builders? So when it comes to a real estate brokerage that wants to go engage with a builder, and you could even break that question into two parts, whether it's the small, medium-sized builder versus the big publicly traded builder. But just overall, what are some misconceptions that a real estate broker, owner, or even just an individual agent may have about what it's really like to work with a builder?
Sure. I think there's a couple of misconceptions. One is that their client, a buyer is going to obtain a home for less money by not bringing a broker to the conversation, which is clearly not the case. That's number one. Number two is, in Colorado, the home builders are not directed under the Colorado Division of Real Estate, so they don't fall under our normal state contracts that we use and that we know very well. So there's a misconception that their contracts are hard to understand, that they won't explain them to a realtor, and that they don't they won't flow with what jives in our marketplace today. And again, that's not true. They are slanted to the builder, but very much the elements, the nuts and bolts of it, the ingredients are pretty much the same as our Colorado contract to buy and sell. The other side of it is that they're not going to get paid, and that's not true either, right? So in they absolutely build a budget to pay a realtor. They absolutely want to have a realtor engaged in the conversation. What the misconception is that the on-site salesperson, who in our market in Colorado is an employee, is going to take their buyer or is going to take their commissions, and that's just not the case. So through education, not only ourselves, our company, but realtors in the Denver market, we've been able to show them how to profit from new home sales, how to understand the process of new home sales, and how to add it as a spinning plate into their business throughout the year or throughout the quarter.
Got it. And then what about on the listing side? So when an individual agent or maybe a company is looking at potentially attracting builder accounts, they decide this is something that they want to do. They want to build this as part of their business. They want to seek out either large or small builders where they can engage them on the listing side. If they haven't done that kind of thing before, what are some misconceptions do you think that they may have when it comes to the listing side and working with the builder with that, when it comes to helping them with their sales and marketing?
Absolutely. So first of all, I look at that mid-tier market size. So a builder that does anywhere from, let's call it 12 transactions a year to about 40 transactions a year. They're either too big to handle it on their own, or they're too small to be able to flat out bring on full-on W-2 employees, right, and take on that expense. So a couple of misconceptions is that we approach, or an agent approaches the builder as they would a resale home. So for example, if we're going to talk commissions, it would be a full fee type commission environment. Mm-hmm. One of the big questions that a realtor needs to understand, and one of the most important ones, is what is built in the pro forma. We need to know the pro forma number first, and not just from real estate commissions for our buyer's agents, but for our listing agents, but more importantly from a marketing perspective. Mm-hmm. What type of dollar amount has the builder allocated towards marketing? Is it 0.5% per home? Is it 1% per home? Et cetera. And then what pieces of that become the builder's responsibility, and what pieces of it become the realtor's responsibility?
Yep.
The other misconception is that they want us to throw homes, to actually load his or her homes into the local MLS, and they don't want you to do anything. And that's not true at all. They actually need us and our expertise, contract to close, no different than a resale home, but we're a good buffer and a good barrier, right, between that builder who stays within their core competency, too. The other misconception with realtors is, I think a lot of them believe that they need to understand construction design and blueprints and permitting processes, and they need to have a base level of understanding, but again, that's not their core competency. Normally there's a supervisor, there's a general person, or even the builder themselves, depending upon the size, that will be able to provide those updates in a meaningful manner or in a tangible manner so that we can have that conversation with our clients and explain it in layman's terms.
Got it. Those are all fantastic, really insightful answers. I really appreciate and like that one you talked about with understanding the pro forma. My experience has been, once a number for sales and marketing goes into the pro forma, it's pretty hard to change that number. So they have a certain percentage in their head, and that's the number that it's going to be. And probably what can be negotiated at that point, and you tell me, is which entity will incur which costs. My point is it's hard to change that number as the percentage, but you may be able to negotiate on who's going to pay for which piece of the marketing, whether it be signage or print advertising or whatever. But you just got to know that number up front of what's in the pro forma.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I really like I like what you said, and you gave us the language on how to ask the builder, which is simply. So I'm curious, what have you allocated in your budget towards sales and marketing? So that's the way to find out. That's the question to ask, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, great. In a moment, I do want to ask you about some different ways to structure a listing agreement with a builder. But first, let me ask you this, Michael. So, one of our beliefs is that we can add value to people when we solve problems that they don't even know that they have. And so I wonder, when it comes to builders And when it comes to sales and marketing of their product, what are some problems that we can solve for them that they don't even know that they have? Knowing that a lot of these people that we're interacting with, their expertise is really more on the construction side, the development side, putting deals together, managing subcontractors, and so many of them don't necessarily have a skill set around sales and marketing. So what are some things that we can show them and that we can enlighten them on? What are problems that we're solving that they don't even know that they had in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple of them that come to mind right off the top of my head. Number one is the geographical location and price point of the dirt. If the builder or developer overpays for the ground, you're upside down all the way through the process, right? So it's almost like a home or a renovation home or a flip home, right? We make our money on the buy, you never make it on the sell, right? So it's identifying the right neighborhoods and the right target price points that are going to sell. That's number one. Number two is offering that ability to get their homes exposed to the largest amount of people possible, right? Which would include getting those homes loaded into your local MLS. Number one. Number two, groups like the Home Builders Association, the board, your local board of realtors. Number three is really bringing the team together. An example of that, the two obvious ones are title. So your title companies can be invaluable in helping structure not only their deal for their financing, but the deal with how they're going to sell these units from a price standpoint for their cost. Number two is the lending. So really having the great lending partner. An example of that is like with Penrith Home Loans, having a great partner that understands the home building industry, understands 6, 9, even 18 months loan locks and what does that look like, pre-approval processes, and even up to and including incentives in some instances on some level. The other side of it that they don't fully understand what they need, Eric, is that full team of support. So an example of those would be the right roofing contractors, the right framers, the right drywallers, the right landscapers who are willing to work, handle those projects on a timely basis and not just get gobbled up or shipped to maybe a production builder who might pay them a little bit more. So the right relationships out there of those who have been through the recession, who do a good quality work, a good quality product, so that they're not going to have warranty issues long-term down the road.
You just said the word, Michael, I was thinking about, which is relationships, and that's really what we're bringing to the game. We are bringing relationships to them, not just ones like mortgage and title, but you're saying also like subcontractors, and what an amazing value you can add where you as the realtor, because of relationships that you've built, can bring subcontractor relationships to them, subs that you know will perform.
Correct, absolutely. And let me bring me back to that after I make this one final point. And the other piece of it is about roughly 20% of the home buyers looking at a new construction home are not represented by a broker. Number one, and number two is they have a home to sell. So offering a great List Assist program that is dialed in, like we have in Colorado, we have the Certified Listing Program in Colorado, and being able to deliver that to a home builder's potential buyer takes the pressure off that buyer, number one. Number two, we're managing through that transaction to make sure that it does close efficiently and effectively to get them as most money as we can so they can roll those proceeds into their new home. I'd like to go back to the relationship piece for a second, because one of the questions you asked me earlier, Eric, was about groups. So I'm part of a private group here in Denver called the Construction Resource Group, and we do 8 major events a year. 4 of them are lunch and learns that are done once a quarter, and they have some sort of theme. So this year's theme is about now you're under contract, what are you going to do, right? Or now you got the ground, what are you going to do? So the business owners that we have, is about 25 of them, I think they're going to be on your screen here in a minute, are some of the best in Denver. So from a capital company for venture capital, from closets to excavation, marketing, lumber yards, et cetera. And you'll see that Windermere is on there as well. These are some of the best, and these people are business owners that bring value to the entire conversation. And for example, when they need appliances delivered, they need appliances at the right price, or they need framer, they need the dirt excavated, they need signage put up around their community, we've already got the people in place. So what we did was I inserted our banner. This is our banner that we use for events into our Windermere Builder Solutions listing presentation. It doesn't matter what we say in that presentation. They stop right here and they want to spend all their time on this slide. It's really about that relationship and who we know, because a lot of them, because they're not a production publicly traded builder, they just can't get access to some of the great dynamic trades in our market. So this gives them access to that and lets them perform and act like a big builder, which is what they kind of want to do anyway, but they want to do that on their own.
Got it. Yeah, that's great. And wow, look at all those relationships that you've built there, and allows you to add tremendous value to these builder clients. So, Michael, a few months ago, you mentioned a list assist program, and I think this is a good segue to the next question I had, which is around structure. So, can you walk us through how to structure these different relationships with the builder? So, one may be a list assist program. So, can you walk us through even what is that? What do we mean by that? How would you structure that? And then all the way down to how would you structure a program where we are putting the salespeople actually on site, either in the model home or the sales trailer? Because I'm guessing those that are either looking to build this as part of their business, or they maybe already have it, but they want to make it better. I'm guessing that this is a big question they have in their mind, or how do we even structure these deals with the builder? What does that listing agreement look like? So can you walk us through that and maybe start with the list assist?
Yeah, absolutely. So in my mind, there's four different avenues to this, or four different prongs to this. One would be more of a traditional list assist, where a builder comes to us, and what we will do is load either the vacant lot with a to be built home, or an actual model or a spec home into our local MLS and field some of those calls. But really, the builder is the one showing the property, and et cetera, et cetera. That would be number one in my mind, which is a little bit more basic. We're not really finding that as a desirable environment right now, to be honest with you, with the high level of activity we have. And you also hit the nail on the head that these builders' core competency is more bricks and sticks and swinging hammers, right? So another problem that we see is where they would like us to sit on site. That would be the most desirable kind of in our mind, where we will actually place a realtor or have a team of realtors designated for a project. So an example of that would be the builder wants a model home because he or she built a model home to be open Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we have a team of 4 realtors that are designated who have been interviewed, and they would sit on site. That would be their open house day. So, for example, Thursday would be Adam's open house day. In our example, Adam's there all day Thursday. He's not showing other property, no other listing appointments. That's his open house all day. Number 2 is that we then have 2 agents that have been designated for a list assist for a buyer who has a home to sell. So then in this example, Adam can throw it over his shoulder to another realtor Jennifer. Jennifer goes out and does the pitch and does the listing program, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
For us, that's ideal because we're involved in the entire transaction on both sides of it, which gives us a little more control, and we can also have more effective communication with our lenders, title, and the home builder.
Okay.
Another example is a simple list assist only, where the builder has hired their own people and they want us to be one of 1, 2, or 3, whatever they choose. We hope it's one of us, where we actually then go out and do a presentation to sell one of their clients' homes so that they can then buy the new home. We do generally do that at a savings to the client. It's different depending upon which quadrant of the metro area, but there is definitely a discount there as an incentive, and that discount is because we didn't have that client. That client came to us from them, right?
Right.
So then we build a relationship with that client once they close and buy that home. So hopefully down the road, we'll sell that home in their new construction home in the future and help them buy another one.
Kind of a similar mindset we would have when someone sends us a referral, right? Where it's
no different.
Yeah.
No different than that referral. We did not know that client. It came from the builder. The builder did all the marketing to get it. And so, yes, we do offer a discount for that, as well. Another relationship that we've uncovered is helping us identify the ground. So starting at 35 acres, that seems to be the minimum to build a subdivision is 35 acres, and start with 35, maybe 75 to 100 acres, and a far-reaching part of the sprawl of the metro area to help identify the ground now, and then down the road, be able to work out a structure, a transaction to where we could then sell all the lots to multiple builders, and then maybe potentially multiple people sitting in multiple model homes.
Right.
So an example of that is there's a golf course community about 45 minutes to an hour east of us, east of the airport, where there's one plot left of about 75 acres. And that's an exact example to where the seller is talking with us to help us maybe sell this. We're talking to some capital investment people, and the agreement in this example would be that we would take almost nothing, very little money up front, and put that money with this. It was structured to be when we start selling off those lots in chunks of maybe 10 or 15 or 20 lots, we are the listing agent on the lots. And then, oh, by the way, builder, what we'll do is we will do those for little to no cost. And then we want the agreement that we're going to be either your on-site sales team, or we're going to do a list assist, whatever's appropriate. So we could touch it 3 different times for the same piece of ground long term. So I think it depends on what that builder's looking at and what that developer's looking at when you're getting into multiple units and multiple sides of that volume.
Got it. So if I can just repeat these back, just to make sure everyone's getting these down. So I have 4. One is and I'm going, by the way, I'm going to go a little bit out of order, if hopefully that's all right, Michael. But one is we are the on-site team, where that means it's either one person or maybe up to 4 people who are committed to hold that spec home or that model home or that sales trailer open. There's designated hours. I think you mentioned a key piece. Those people are interviewed. They're invited onto the team. So we communicate to the builder that, hey, this is not just like a free-for-all open house. These are people who really get it. They're trained, and they're vetted, and they're a part of this team who's very focused on selling your product. So that's one option. On-site team. Another option, the way I describe it is you're the off-site team. So you could say to a builder, we can be the on-site team or we can be the off-site team. So the off-site team sometimes, like you said, can be pretty minimal. It's putting spec homes or inventory homes in the MLS, maybe doing some minimal marketing, right? So that would be another option. And then you walked us through also helping with the contingency, right? So a buyer has a house to sell. We can be there to help with that contingency. And then you offer this really intriguing option, which is basically we develop a builder program, right? So we're there very early on when the ground is being purchased, helping to bring several builders to that community to help absorb the lots. And we offer marketing services to those builders. So we're involved not only in selling the dirt, but also helping those builders get their inventory sold. Did I hit all those right? Did anyone that I left out or anything you want to add to on any of those 4?
No, I think you got it. I think you summarized it well.
Okay. That's great. And so in terms of, I'm sure people wonder about fee, and fees are going to vary from market to market. But, if we just start with that on-site example, let's say that, kind of the company the commission that a company likes to charge just a resale seller is 6%. In that on-site situation, how would you structure that with the builder? What kind of percentages would you be talking about with that builder?
So here's what we're seeing in Colorado pretty consistently. We're seeing the listing side at a 1.5 to 1.75, okay, and 3% to the buyer's agent. In some cases, even 4% to the buyer's agent, paying them a little bit more. The other piece of this, though, is to remember is that you've got your retail store. That's kind of what I look at when you have your flag pull up with that new home builder. Is that's like your Nordstrom store, let's just say, where it's open 7 days a week and people can flow in, you get your flag pull up, et cetera, et cetera. And that's one of the things you don't have when you're selling resale, right? So in my market, I've got 17,000 licensees in the 7-county Denver area. I have 17,000 competitors every day, right? Versus in this environment, I don't have all those competitors. The buyers are coming to us, right? So for me, it becomes processes, right? It becomes a systematic process of qualifying, number one, number two, getting them to contract, and then number three, contracts close.
Got it. So
in a way to do that, Eric, is two things that I have found that if anybody is looking at getting into new home sales and anybody wants to have a conversation with a builder or developer, there's two programs that I think are extremely important, and they're both offered through David Walsh. David Walsh is out of Southern California, and they are both NAR approved. One is the residential construction certification, and number two is the certified new home specialist. They're both programs that are recognized and have logos attached to them, but also really gives you the vocabulary and understanding to be able to have that dialogue and understand, to get in the mindset from the home builder side of it to the real estate side of it to the buyer side of it.
Got it. Okay. So, Michael, in that example of working with the builder, and so we offer a 3% to the realtor that brings the buyer, and on the listing side, the listing fee is 1.5 or 1.75. What are some marketing items in that scenario? What are some marketing items that the realtor is paying for, and then what are some marketing items that the builder is paying for? Because I would guess that with that kind of commission structure, we would want the builder taking on some of the marketing at least, right? So yeah. What are some things that they're paying for versus what are some things that we're paying for?
Yeah, so generally the first one that comes to mind right off the bat is the signage as one enters the development. And so normally it's co-branded with the builder's logo. It would be the Windermere Builder Solutions logo and the lead agent, whoever's on that account, to field those phone calls. And it really defines when a person drives through, it really defines that they are represented, it is part of Windermere, and that they are a professional organization. So that would be the number one. Number two would be the builder's website, and whatever that looks like, big or small. Number three would be if they're doing Facebook business pages or landing pages. Four would be email campaigns. So these would be campaigns that are emailed out to brokers. In some cases, if it's appropriate and the budget's there, we'll do geocoding to consumers that pops up on tablets and smartphones at strategic places like the airport or in certain neighborhoods in Denver. They're geocoded. Those, generally speaking, fall under the builder's expense. Another builder expense, and not all of them do it, but we counsel them to do it, is home staging. And that home staging can be expensive, right? It's usually the best of the best, from electronics to draperies to the kitchens to bedding, etc., to make those homes really pop and stand out and leave a lasting impression. So when we look at that budget, in my mind, that's on the builder side of the column. On the realtor side of the column, we're a little fortunate. I'll brag a little bit because we have our certified listing program. We run our program all the way through from the MLS to photography, signage. We still use the 8-foot yard arm signage, even though we have a signage in the community and really define all the lots and where they're located. A lot of times the Builder Realty Council does fall under the Realtor. That annual membership would fall under that. The local Denver, the Board of Realtors, the Home Builder Association memberships would fall under the real estate side of things because it gives the realtor access to tools and marketing which they wouldn't have just on the real estate side. And then if the realtor is doing any type of open house that's more of a broker open, that generally falls under the realtor side of the equation. Okay. So we try to balance it for things that the realtor can control that are real estate activities and duties, and then the builder side, which are really home specific marketing, project specific marketing.
Okay. And then what about collateral? So like even down to the flyer on the home, but also certainly the community brochure. Who's paying for the design of those and also the printing of those?
So we've done it both ways. I'll tell you what's the best way is if the builder does that on their side. So for example, they would have maybe it's a trifold and it's got a map of the community with the lots, and then it has the amenities of the community with whatever those amenities may be. And then it has some sample renderings of what maybe model A, B, and C look like, so the potential buyer can take that home with them. If we're in a spec situation, we will leverage our photographers and we will leverage Custom Express and what that looks like the marketing pieces that we already have in place with Windermere.
Okay, got it. Great. That's super helpful. That's really, really helpful. So we learned about the different ways to structure a listing agreement with the builder, all the different ways that we can help them, from just doing some offsite team related marketing all the way over to how to develop a builder program and be involved from the beginning with the ground. How about this, Michael? So what are some things that we want to know up front from that builder before we get too far along with an agreement? So I think one you already mentioned was, what do they have in their pro forma for sales and marketing? We need to know that. What are they prepared to invest? But is there anything else that comes up for you as things that we want to be sure to ask about, be sure to uncover before we just get too far down the road with these builders?
Yeah, one of them is how are we going to go into our agreement? What does our listing agreement look like? What's our employment agreement look like? Is it a separate document that's drafted by a third party? Is it your local contract to buy and sell that you would use for anybody else that has an additional rider built into it? Is it individual listing agreements per lot, per physical lot with a legal description? Depending upon what that looks like, we need to know how that's going to get structured so that we know how we're going to get paid. In Colorado, the brokerage is who gets paid. So relationship is with us, the brokerage, and then we designate brokers to our specific agents. Another thing to think about is how are they going to be executed, right? Are they going to be executed electronically? Are they more of wet signatures, wet paper and scanned? And then how do they interact with the title companies as well as the lenders? And what does that look like? And then a big one lately has been time on market, right? So does the builder have the resources to get a home completed in that 7 to 9 month range? Some of them just flat out don't. So what does that look like from a time commitment, and what do those contracts need to look like? And also the big one is being able to handle that financing piece so you don't have homes just sitting out there on the open market. And then the final one that comes to my mind is who's your go-to person, right? So who are you going to give your updates to? Who are you going to be doing your weekly assessments with on a weekly basis?
Yeah. Boy, that one on timing, I think, is so important, especially in this environment. And I know this is true all across Windermere's footprint. Is builders have a hard time getting subs, and they have a hard time getting homes done. So the simple question is, how long is it taking you to finish a house? And we need to be pretty clear on that up front. I think a lot of people listening know this, but I started my real estate career selling new homes. And one of my sales managers early on said to me, "Eric, you're not a salesperson. You are an expectations manager." So we better understand timing if we're going to do a good job managing expectations with the client. Yeah, absolutely. But those are really, really good. By the way, gang, everyone listening, you have the chance to ask Michael a question. How you can do that is just go ahead and type it in. Obviously, we have a guest today who is just a pure master when it comes to how to help builders, how to add value to them, how to structure marketing agreements with them. So this is your chance to ask the master. So if you do have a question between now and the top of the hour, feel free to type that in. I'll be able to see that question and then read it to Michael. We can help you out. So Michael, you've got lots of experience working with builders. And so if we get down to some specific examples, can you tell us about the good and the bad? Can you tell us about any relationship that's gone really well and what made it go well? And then also, would you share any ugly stories with us? Are there any lessons learned, from things that didn't go so well? So let me tell you one that didn't go well, and then I'll follow it up with one that just was a prime example of how it should go. Both of these were an infill, a Denver infill project. They were not multiple lots, multiple homes. They were a single family home. So one of them was in the Highlands neighborhood of Denver, which is northwest of downtown, really up and coming, trendy neighborhood. And our client, we did two sides of this. One side is we helped them identify the home and get it bought efficiently, which we did a great job of that. And this was a personal project of mine. And then these clients turned this into a project home / a flip home. And
Number one is they did not follow my advice. The timing in the market of getting the home bought at the right month of the year and getting on the market at the right month of the year. They waited a little bit too long to make a decision on getting it bought. That was number one. But the big issue was they didn't understand the necessity of time of getting the house flipped and turned around, so we were able to get the spring and summer run up before we went into fall and winter. And as a result, it took them longer, 4 or 5 months longer to get this home flipped. Number two is they way overdid it with materials, from flooring to fixtures, cabinetry, exterior, interior, way overdid it for the community and for that particular market of the Highlands. So buyers just didn't see the value in it. And we missed our complete summer run up because unfortunately their 4-day weekends at Lake Powell were more important. So they lost a lot of time in the process. So as an end result on that one, as a negative and what not to do, we did go to the closing table and they actually lost money. They had to bring money to the table to pay off their investor. So that one did not go well overall. However, on the flip side, I'll use the CRG banner that you brought up earlier, Eric, that group. We did a project house together in Denver's Mayfair neighborhood, very sought after neighborhood, affluent neighborhood. We're in the $1 million price point to give the listeners a perspective. Every member of that group was part of it. So from the closet design, landscaping, drywall, framing, windows, myself as real estate, appliances. And what we did was we created an environment around the house as to where we provided a weekly video update that was less than 10 minutes every Friday, even if there was no update, right? It was every week there was an update. Number two is the vendors and the trades did do the project at a discount. For the exchange, we did hire a video company, and that video company let them do video segments of pre-installation and post, where they could then use the video on their personal websites, Facebook, etc., and also bring clients to that home while we were under construction and under contract. That one went fantastic, and that spun off other transactions outside of it, but it also solidified the relationship. The other thing that it did for me was it really established an amazing environment for little short videos from a YouTube standpoint. And again, this is before we were owners at Windermere, but also really solidified the relationship with those members of this construction resource group and the Home Builders Association, the local board of realtors, and the local people that run the MLS. I think it really showed a breadth of, we didn't just throw a sign in the yard and make our commission. It really helped manage all of that at the center of the transaction. And just like Eric said about on-site sales, it put me in the place where I had to manage expectations, because cabinet people sometimes are delayed. The flooring gets delayed. We had massive rain that year. Landscaping was delayed, right? So fast forward to a successful sale, which we did do, and had an amazing product. Our client is amazing. The realtor on the other side of the transaction has actually become a friend of mine. She is with another company, but their client is so happy with their home. They also have a story to tell, and they even share the YouTube channel and YouTube pages with their friends, which has turned into other business, not necessarily real estate, but renovation, remodeling business for a lot of the trades. So that was a huge success.
Absolutely. You know what I heard in common among both those stories, the good and the bad, is communication, right? So
yep.
It sounds like the communication didn't go well in the situation that didn't turn out well. And in this scenario you're just walking us through, there was terrific communication among all the partners and lots of synergy and alignment. And doesn't it so often just boil down to communication? So I think, yeah, that's what we had in common. So Michael, we did have a question come in, really great question. So I'll read this to you. She says, first, thank you for sharing your insights today. I'm a marketing manager for a couple of offices. My commitment to my agents is to be as impartial as possible. My ultimate goal, however, is to generate business and business for our offices. So any advice to me, someone who can't necessarily deliver leads to individual agents, but rather work on behalf of our specific offices to court new builder developer business? Any steps that I can take to help make us known?
I think there's a couple things
on attracting builder business. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. So I think positioning yourself within your local market, and being able to you need to be in front of builders and be in front of realtors. So I'll share kind of how I done it and continue to do it, and then you might be able to mirror that. So one is the local Home Builders Association has expos on a regular basis. So maybe having a booth at that expo and talking about the Windermere Builder Solutions program, which is available on the Work Center site. That's number one, and being known and getting involved. Number two is creating environments for your realtors to get on site with builders. So one of the things that we do, Vince Grandy is my business partner, is one of the things that we're working on is moving our sales meetings to builders' locations on site. Those locations don't open until 10 a.m. in the morning, usually sometimes 11 in our market. So maybe having a sales meeting at 9 o'clock there, partnering with a lender and maybe a title company for food and whatnot. A couple of things happen. It gets your realtors out of their house and also gets them out of the office. But number three is it gets you out in front of them doing something and adding more value. Another thing to think about is leveraging your office. If your office space is congruent to it, is maybe hosting some sort of event, even after hours, specifically marketed to home builders and developers only, and getting them into your office like for an open house, and having strategic realtors there that understand this business and understand the language of what they need to have. Almost like a mini economic forecast, but make it specific, and they're the only ones invited.
Got it. Great insight, Michael. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. Hopefully that helps you out, to the person that sent us that question. And I'll make one more request to all of you to send us a question before we wrap up here. Michael, in the meantime, I'll just say again, thank you so much. This has been terrific. And I'll put you on the spot, Michael. In case anyone has questions after the fact, are you willing to share your phone number here? I'm sure you will be.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Knowing you and knowing that these are your fellow Windermere owners here on this call. So why don't you go ahead and share your number in case people have questions for you afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you my phone number. You can connect with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you want, man. This is 2018. But my mobile number is area code 303-627-7667.
Okay, 303-627-7667. And gosh, even if you want to call Michael to wish him a happy birthday, go ahead and use that phone number, or heck, send him a text message to wish him a happy birthday, or even make a little video of yourself wishing him a happy birthday and text it to him, whatever you want to do. But Michael, I want to thank you so much for helping us out today. Just amazing insights that you shared. You are a master when it comes to this. And Woody, I appreciate mostly about all of this is that you've made such a commitment to this part of the business, to be really terrific at it, to be a master at it, to really understand it, so that you can add just tremendous value to these builder clients, and also develop these incredible relationships that you have within this industry. It's really cool to witness and to watch and be a part of. Happy birthday, Michael. And
thank you.
Yeah. And gosh, thanks again. You've really given us a great gift. And to all of you listening, you gave us a gift by participating. We want to thank you for being a part of this month. This is February. Gosh, it's almost March. Again, save the date for March 20th for our next What's Working webinar. Let me know if you have thoughts, ideas on topics or people that should be interviewed, so that we can really learn from each other, so that we can all be better. Hope to see a lot of you next week at the Manager Series that will be in Seattle. Just an incredible lineup of speakers that we have for that. And if we don't see you then, we're going to see you in Colorado at the Windermere Owners Retreat. Won't that be cool, Michael?
Yes, the Broadmoor.
Yeah, the Broadmoor, a favorite spot for both Michael and I. If you're on the fence about coming to the Owners Retreat in September to Colorado Springs at the Broadmoor, get off the fence, because that's a pretty cool, pretty magical place to visit if you've never been there before. So to all of you, I hope you have a great afternoon, and all of you listening to the recording, I hope you're going to have a great day, and we'll talk to all of you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you.